Cero. This is where I get 60 seconds to talk about anything. Start the clock, please. Here's what's on my mind this morning. We may have seen the last of the Vancouver Canucks this season. A nightmare scenario is developing in the lower mainland, and right now the NHL has no idea what's next. Here's the deal. There's been a COVID-19 outbreak inside the team. As of yesterday, 16 players were in the league's COVID protocol. Reports indicate some staff members and family members also have it. What makes it worse is that the Brazilian variant is in the dressing room. This thing is 2.5 times more contagious than the original, and it's moving quicker among young people. Things are getting so serious that Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman reported over the weekend on Hockey Night in Canada. There's already some talk of an NHL playoff bubble in the works, very similar to what happened last summer in Toronto and Edmonton. Canadian hockey teams, when it comes to this virus, let's be honest here, have lived a charmed life. But a recent outbreak in Montreal and this latest outbreak in Vancouver is a stark reminder that the completion of this hockey season, even with vaccines in play, is far from a given. Justin Bourne of Sportsnet.ca and Hockey Central, which you can listen to at noon on Sportsnet 590 The Fan every day. It is a fantastic hockey show. Justin, welcome to the show here. This is kind of the one we've all been afraid of here, right? Like this is a story nobody can get their hands on here. As a hockey fan, first and foremost, but also a guy who lives and breathes it professionally, what's going through your head right now?
I'd say this is the first time it's felt, well, I don't say it's the first time it's felt scary, but it's the first time it's felt like season threatening and that it could disrupt the bigger picture of the NHL. It's impossible to predict what's going to happen in Vancouver right now. They have a bunch of I think I'm going to say more than half the team right now on the COVID list. I think they're going to wait and see how some of that plays out, how many people actually have contracted it versus how many are contacts. But yeah, like the Canucks have a huge portion of their schedule to go. They're not likely to come back and play for a couple of weeks. Their AHL team is just out of COVID protocol. Like there's a chance you just got to chop off the rest of their schedule, which impacts the entirety of the league. And so, I flip-flop between how serious it is for the team and sympathetic to the players, and then looking at what it's going to do to the NHL as a whole. But it's not good things. It's a huge reason why we're talking about things like the bubble, and it's disappointing. It's I don't want to point any fingers, but it's disappointing at this point of the calendar in season 2 of COVID hockey that we're talking about something so serious.
I'll bring up the bubble again, and Elliot brought it up on Hockey Night in Canada Saturday. That was one of all the things we've kind of heard over the last 72 hours on this story. That was an angle I hadn't considered. And we all know the players want no part of this, but if safety-wise, this is the only way you can award a Stanley Cup, Justin, like how do the players say no to it? I know no one wants to do that again, but what's the alternative?
No, you're right. And that is the terrible thing is that I thought the players, when they came out of the bubble, they're like, okay, we did that. Now we're not doing that again. So whatever else it is we have to do, we'll figure it out. But we're not doing the bubble again. And now we're sitting here having this conversation where they might be put in a position where exactly what you're talking about. This is the only way it might happen. If you don't play the games, you start talking about increased escrow and dealing with the CBA. They just renegotiated and all these awful things, and it's sad. It's really awful. It's funny because in Canada up here, it's not funny at all, but in Canada up here, we were kind of, I think a lot of people were looking down their nose at the U.S. All the teams that were affected by COVID for a while, we had no cases. Now a large portion of the American teams are vaccinated, or at least partially vaccinated, I should say, while the Canadian teams are struggling to keep up in that regard. So it's really, really not a fun thing to be talking about at this point in the NHL season.
Justin, before we let you go, we do have to also point out that Dallas Stars head coach Rick Bowness, who is fully vaccinated, had to be pulled off the bench during a game last night after a couple periods. So even though you are fully vaccinated, there's still a lot we don't know about whether or not people can spread this and just the science of it. Finally, quickly, protocols within the league. Should we expect an announcement this week about it tightening significantly?
Yeah, they sent a memo to the teams basically saying, no more being the coach who pulls down his mask to yell. There was a video of DJ Smith throwing his gum into the stands the other day. I think everything got a little bit lax for a while. Everyone got a little bit too comfortable. So I think they'll definitely remind everyone to tighten things back up. I don't know how much more they can physically change outside of just the reminders to players. this is still very real, and we still very much need you on the same page. Even if you are vaccinated, we don't need people going out to restaurants. It's going to be a tightening back up. There's only, a month left of the regular season. So certainly if everyone can get it together for one more month here, hopefully things are good to go by playoffs as they were planning originally.
Justin, we got 20 seconds. What is the significance of the balloon over your left shoulder?
It is my baby daughter Molly's first birthday.
Well,
so what I needed was Easter with all the chocolate, first birthday with all the cake. Let's do sugar, kids. Woo!
Plenty of sugar and great analysis of the Bourne household. Justin Bourne of Sportsnet. He is phenomenal. Thanks for joining us today. Love you.
Anytime, you too. Thanks, Sid.
There is Justin Bourne. Again, go to sportsnet.ca. He's worked inside the Leafs organization. He knows what he's talking about. All right, Canada has one of the highest rates of IBS in the world, estimated 18% versus 11% globally. Coming up, we chat with a gastroenterologist on the often undiagnosed symptoms and how to get help. That conversation next at 6:45. Good morning, Toronto. You're watching BT.